Video presentation, we choose to examine how gender is defined and viewed cross-culturally, based on information from academic researchers and our own video points and experience. We will discuss differences in gender, stereotypes, and role across cultures by answering these questions. How do gender stereotypes and roles vary across culture?
Whether we like it or not, we all participate in stereotypes. Did you know that gender-related stereotypes are practically the same in all cultures across the world? The research that concluded this was held by Williams and Bast in 1982. During this cross-cultural study, participants in 30 countries were asked to fill in a questionnaire known as the adjective checklist. This list consists of 300 adjectives, and respondents were asked if each adjective felt more as a description of a male or a female.
Some adjectives that are associated with males are confident, aggressive, realistic, and serious. And some adjectives that are associated with females include charming, forgiving, sensitive, and worrying. Even though all cultures had the same stereotypes, the degree to which they considered the male characteristics as more favorable than female characteristics can vary across cultures. In each country, William and Best asked to rank the adjectives from the adjective checklist according to favorability. As states in Matsumoto, Japan and South Africa see male characteristics as more preferable, whereas in Italy and Peru, female characteristics are preferred.
So, as we see here in the Matsumoto book, chapter 6, these psychological differences between men and women might have an evolutionary explanation. Like we saw in class, some species in the animal kingdom, like grizzly bears and elks, for instance, the males might even kill their own offspring. So for that matter, the female has the necessity of being more aware of what's going on and be more caring. So probably these characteristics of taking care and being more female might have had an impact in the human evolution as well. So that would explain the differences between the characteristics between men and women. And Williams and his colleagues have also found that in the big five, men and women, they will score differently, while men will score higher on all the 5 domains except agreeableness and neuroticism, and females they will score higher on agreeableness.
In another study conducted by Hofstede in 1980 and Schwartz in 1994, 6 differences were correlated with culture, demographic variables, and gender ideology. The conclusion was that gender stereotyping ought to be higher in the more conservative and the hierarchical countries with lower level of development. Egalitarian countries showed less traditional sex role orientations are associated with less gender stereotype differentiation on the 5 factors.
Although there is no difference in the way culture perceives gender stereotypes, there is a difference in the way culture perceives gender roles. Matsumoto defines gender roles as judgments about what males and females ought to be like or ought to do, depending upon the culture's values, ideals, and traditions. These judgments vary especially in the type of task and responsibility that men and women have within the culture. As we mentioned before, certain traits will always be considered more masculine or more feminine. However, the actual roles or tasks that our culture assigns to a man or woman are seen differently. The type of responsibilities, career positions, and day-to-day duties are different, even among the culture that we come from. We have our group member, Gustavo, that's from Brazil, and he's gonna, do you have any different examples of any different?
Yeah, sure. One big example is compared to Sweden, Brazil has a big difference in the maternity leave days. when a couple has a newborn, for instance, the mother will have 6 months of maternity leave while the father will have 1 week. So that's a huge gap in the difference, because the mother is supposed to take care of the child during this period. Another thing is that the housework is not equally divided between men and women. Women are supposed to take care of the housework and the children, and by that I don't mean that men don't do that at all, but there is a mentality that women are supposed to take care of that responsibility.
Well, what I've noticed is that when it comes to the house chores, the women do it more than the men. I can see a big differences because I'm born in Sweden and it's more equal when it comes to that. In Poland, I do still see that the women do more of the housework than the men. Now I'm gonna ask another group member, Estelle, how the gender roles between men and women look like in China. Hi, Estelle.
Hi.
Do you have any examples if you've seen anything or noticed anything?
Yes, in China, men and women get more equal now. When they get married, men will buy the house, and women will buy the furnishment and the decoration and car. It's more equal, and they share the expense. Yeah. Thank you.
In conclusion, a study conducted by Williams and Bast, it was found that countries with the highest socioeconomic status, more women and workforce, and more individualistic countries tend toward less of a gender role difference. And countries that are more egalitarian see the roles as less traditional, placing women and men in the same level. In a study that Gibbons conducted on adolescents, it was shown that women tended to be less traditional than men in defining gender roles, and the more collective cultures had stronger conventional ideas about gender.
When we go back to our original question, how do stereotypes and roles vary across cultures? We can see like the answer has 2 parts. Gender stereotypes, like most stereotypes, do not differ across cultures. Gender roles, however, do depending upon many factors that make up a country and its cultures.
Gender roles ideologies are not set in stone, and as the world continues to change, and we as a whole human species continues to advance, ideals surrounding gender will continue to change as well.